rematch of IEM Katowice 2024 is here. We are getting into post-youth for the first game of this best of 7. It's time to cry out loud, guys, for your fan favorites. In the bottom left of post-youth for Team Basilisk, he is Serral.
Military service has not slowed him down at all. He's looked very fantastic, but his opponent in the top right, he has just been like a hot knife through butter, building up momentum as he's played this tournament. Representing Vitality in the top right side of the map, looking for revenge from their last finals. Let's see if he can do it. Everybody, put your hands together for Maru!
The undisputed greatest of all time players right here. You choose one or the other. Who will actually reign supreme here today as Maru starts off with a 2-Rex on this very unique map. Serral starting off with a hatch first, but then going into a very specific area for that spawning pool, Pig.
Yeah, a little bit of a semi-wall off there on the ramp. The 15 hatchery, 15 pool means he's going to be able to get out those queens very early on, which will help him deflect this early double Reaper aggression. Maru wanted to put on that, and he will be looking to, of course, delay Serral from that third base. It's such a big distance on this map down to the third, and I think if Maru wants to commit even just to 3 Reapers, if he wants to go up to 4, it's going to take forever for Serral to get down there. Would not be surprised if Serral just kind of slowly takes his time on 4 queens, works his way up, because keep in mind, no gas for Serral just yet. This is a super mineral-focused opening, and he's looking to just kind of build up on his 2 base and not really let himself bother with worrying about Maru delaying the 3rd base. He's like, it's fine, I'll build 4 queens, I'll make about 1 billion drones. This is absolutely okay because Maru is delaying his command center by about 30 seconds to get that 2nd barracks up.
And Serral's going to realize this, that it is in fact 2 racks. Now, keeping your Overlord around to see exactly how many Reapers pop out is a dangerous task. They could transfer over into Marines and actually try and get that Overlord kill, thus also blinding the Zerg player for that mid-game. So as you said, it could be 3, it could be 4, it could be 5. But if you go above 3, you're kind of hoping for maybe straight up a canceled hatchery, which if, yes, Serral was comfortable not going for it, would not be a problem. But Serral actually does add on the hatchery. Maru can go ahead and check that in a second, and then again the question, can he get the cancel if he goes up to more than 3 Reaper?
Oh, risky Reaper move here. Will he get punished? The Queen's trying to, of course, shepherd it into the corner. Maru looking for damage. Getting some momentum at the start of this. Already a drone does go down, but the Reapers are deep inside the territory. 2nd drone goes down. No more Sportrix. Serral starting to slip up a little under pressure. Maru starting this series off with a huge amount of momentum. Those drones pulling back the weak ones. Serral trying to make sure things don't get out of hand. Nice Evo chamber block on the right side. No getting out of there.
Beautiful move right there with the drones being pulled in as well. A successful catch on the 2 Reapers. 2 more still in play as Maru has added on not just a natural, but also a 3rd CC moving over into that factory right there. So Maru decided to go for the drone kills, which really did limit his ability to even get to that hatchery. If he had gone to it immediately, that would have been hopefully the cancel, but he wanted the drones. He got 3 and then had a very unfortunate close in on those evolution chambers. And that is a wonderful start. Well, I wouldn't say wonderful, but that was a wonderful move from Serral and an interesting start to both of these games, both of these players. We got a Marauder on the way, interestingly enough, which the Lings are about to see, nibbling on the barracks as they are.
Yeah, an interesting choice, the Marauder there. It is a bit more expensive, doesn't shoot up either, can't deny Overlords. I don't think there's any real purpose to that. Not sure if it was a misclick or not. Serral only now starting to mine gas. So he's adding a 2nd gas. He's up on 44 workers. Overall, I think the way the dust settles is quite fine for Serral. The fact that that 3rd hatchery went up unnoticed, yeah, Maru killed 3 drones, delayed some mining, but at the end of it, you're 3 hatchery gasless. Yeah. This is such a greedy build, and look how easily Serral bounces back from those early drone losses.
Yeah, absolutely. Maru was supposed to have all of his Reapers together, still 4 of them really being a pest here, and actually just lost another one, so it feels like things have quickly turned around on Maru, who initially got up to that main base and seemed like he was going to have free reign. He indeed did not. Stims on the way, Starport as well. Serral is adding on the Roach Warren as I speak. Lair on the way too. We did have some guesses to how this would look from, for instance, Raynor, and we were talking about it in the green room. To have Serral play a very safe game centered around Roaches and getting to the late game can be, well, his safe space, right? If Maru can actually break through that, then more power to him, but that is going to be the struggle that is upcoming.
No link speed just yet, but already a gold-based hatchery starting for Serral. I think Serral senses he's ahead, and this is a scary spot. Serral's normally not a greedy player, but if he gets ahead, he will absolutely push that economy. He will build that advantage, and if you can get that gold base secured, creep out in front of it, starting to swarm with Roach Ravager can be a fearsome thing for Maru to worry about. Now, Maru's going for that forward third base. That sets him up for a lovely push angle right towards Serral's gold. There's a nice high ground above it. And usually this game, the reason this map is Terran favored is it's these ledges. It's these choke points, like tanks layered behind all these little bits of terrain. It becomes very hard for Zerg to deal with. However, if you're on Ling Bane, it's worse. If you've got the Ravagers, you can buy all those tanks, kind of run in, move in, shoot them down, and run away. So I think Serral's chosen a really nice style to open, but I do expect melee Carapace to start. We do see the melee. It's going to be like straight back into Zerglings and the like.
Yeah, so it's not going to be a huge swell of 1-1 Roaches, guys, for an all-in to Maru. Serral is going to end up playing defensively minded. Maru is the one who's tasked to try and get some damage done. He does have a very short point from his third CC to that fourth hatch. Serral, of course, knowledgeable about that, knows that he has to be prepared. Constant scouting as well. He's not going to be without the know, and so he even knows where the army is tracking. And the Roaches are on the job, no problem. So we got more axes on the way, combat shields as well. Serral already adding infestation pits as he has deflected the first drops, no problem.
16 worker advantage for Serral right now. His Baneley Nest now beginning. And of course preparing to go for Hive and Mass Ling Bane as the next step. Maru trailing in supply, but that is standard for a Terran player. The question is what happens next? You've got 2-2, you've got vehicle weapons. Fifth gas goes down. Is there a second factory? Is there a fourth command center? Is Maru going to play the late game that he's so famously excellent at? But in the past, has had mixed results against Serral. You know, Serral has been one of the few players who can take him down in the late game, and he often focuses on timing attacks to try and put Serral on the ropes early in the series. And so far, it doesn't really seem like we see a sign of like, okay, just a straight up all-out commitment. A few extra tech labs are coming in, so there's going to be a heavier mix of Marauders than usual.
A very Oliveira style so far. Serral did have experience against that, but showed that it was a very dangerous build, a very dangerous style for him to go up against. Oliveira really pushed him to the limits, and Maru might be able to push him a little bit more. That would generally be the consensus of the community. Serral will have his 1-1 finish up, but Maru is already on his way to 2-2-1. It is not going to be an 8-rack all-in from our Terran. 4th CC does get slapped down, but it is still a more bio-focused style of play. No second factory as of yet. There it does come down now, but we already have those Marauders being added in. Scan on the Hive there from Maru. Now he knows exactly where Serral is.
Serral wisely stopping at 76 drones. I think we saw how hard it can be to defend these maxed out Terran armies when you've got 85, 90 drones with how well they get positioned. Oliveira caused a lot of problems for players. And we saw this more like dark style of just mid-70s on the workers, have a huge army out. That's going to help make up for the fact that these Roaches and Ravagers are somewhat supply inefficient.
He's chasing this down, actually. Maru wanting to get to as much as possible. Ooh, almost late to that pickup. Only loses a couple of units there. Beautiful defense. I love the tank situation back at home for Maru. Hoping to also negate some of the potential run-bys later on with a wall on the left side and bunker as well. Additional barracks. Now that you've got that 4th CC, we could be going into a very long game indeed.
Serral's still not building up a giant income. He's focusing on having a large standing army. He wants Maru to push into him, because if he does, Serral will spring a massive swarm of Zerg. Look at that army supply difference. 35, oh, there we go, 40 army supply difference, 45 even for Serral. I mean, that is ridiculous. And if you go across and drop with 3 medevacs and Serral just goes for it, he can probably bust in even with the tanks on the high ground.
Oh, and that Ling just saw the medevacs as well. 3 medevacs of units now away from the defense of Maru. What is Serral's choice going to be? Play it safe, defend this first and foremost, as Maru also knowing he got scouted, just unloads, or actually try and find this opening. At the very least, if you could get Lings on top of the tank, that could be very efficient, but that is also a wall there to break down, potentially. Not a full one. Serral seems to be thinking about it, breaking down the rocks that are close by. He is getting some resources sunk into the upgrades, Burrow, Juno Glands, and an Ultralist Cavern, so he does need to be careful about pulling the trigger and going for a big attack. But he had the option perhaps to at least scuffle with the 4th base. Doesn't actually happen. Maru played it safe too as well. Once he was scouted, he just pulls back.
I'm not sure if we saw Vipers this game. I've been wondering where they are. Normally that's one of the first things you power up when the Hive comes out, but they're there. Okay, so they are hovering with the army. 4 Blinding Clouds available. Going to be very effective for nullifying a tank from firing. I believe it only lasts about 6 or 7 seconds, though it does wear off pretty quickly. Here we go. Serral's going to go for it. The tank positioning is great up here. Vikings out front as well, which means those Vipers are going to start to get shot down. Maru not watching for a moment, though. The Vikings fly right past.
Yeah, those Vikings had no idea what was going on. It's a big old Zerg army heading right into Maru's 4th base. Pre-Planetary gets the lift as he cancels and tries to just pull back and back and back into 3 more tanks here. We're entirely off of creep, but there's still so much Zerg left over. Serral supply dominating currently as the SCVs are forced into the military. They don't stand a chance. Maru does not stand a chance. Serral, decisive attack into game number 1. Most likely. Maru does not want to tap out yet, but that was a devastating blow.
Serral built a massive advantage off of his greedy opening and the early defense of the Reapers, and now he is swarming in at the perfect moment. Maru was just getting established. It looked like he had good tank setups, but the Abducts pulling some of those tanks to the front immediately. The Lings, Banes, Roaches, and Ravagers just overwhelmed. You got to realize how overcharged and supercharged the power of Serral's army was. Morphing Banelings like that just gives it such a bit of oomph. And now he adds more drones, adds Ultras, adds another Viper. His 3-3 upgrades are on the way, and Aspire coming in. Serral gets massive damage done, but never does he feel like he's stuck all in. He's always got a next step. He's going to go for it right now. Ultras and Zerg is going for this round. No cloak on those ghosts available. Medevac comes in with a hot pickup. Maru, he's got so few units to defend, and he has to tap out.
What a game from Serral there. Probably went exactly as planned post the Reaper death. What a game. That was a dominating first game to really set the tone here in Serral's favor. But Maru, obviously a very experienced player, been playing since he was 12 approximately, and in the big leagues at that time too. Doesn't usually let this shake him up, but it is still nonetheless scary that Serral took such a dominating macro game on one of the shorter maps with that really scary middle base as well, and Maru didn't get a chance to really do anything against Serral. Once those Reapers were gone, it was like the Terran just had to sit back, and unfortunately that wasn't good enough for Maru.
Committing to 2 racks Reaper at the start is not cheap, and we got to see the numbers advantage here. Maru, yeah, he didn't look that far behind in supply, but you got to realize he was ahead in workers. He was down about, 30 overall supply. A lot of his army was still in production coming out, and he was just way less stuff. There's another 30 Marines there. There's another few Widow Mines, some tanks. Might be a different story, but remember, no Widow Mines were in the mix to help deal with the massive Zerglings, specifically because he opened tanks to deal with the Roach Ravager, didn't have Hellbats, didn't have Widow Mines, no great answer to the Ling Bane.
Yeah, it also really complicates the decision from the Zerg player to actually go in for the attack. Do they have the Widow Mines prepared? Do I not see them? Are they hidden behind the command center? Creates a little bit more of the confusion, but absolutely none there. He sized up the army, sized up the angle, and decided that was the moment to go. Maru also had a couple of tanks that weren't going to be involved in the fight from the get-go. That Planetary, while it lived, because it could lift, maybe would have been better if it had been able to target fire a couple of the Banelings. That is game number 1 done and dusted. Now we move on to another interesting map here. It is going to be Ghost River in the top right. Now up 1 for Basilisk. He is Serral.
And in the top left side, a rough start in game 1, but that will not shake him at all. Famous for being absolutely unshakable. And this is the moment where he's going to have to start to rally this series. Representing Team Vitality in the top left side, it is Maru! Ghost River's a map a lot of Zergs do veto out. But we saw Serral play it previously against Oliveira. He seems comfortable despite the short rush distance. The wide open areas in the middle, and I think the lack of as easily abusable features as some other maps have in terms of like very nasty choke points and weird high ground, low ground ledges. I think Serral says, you know what, I'm happy to play a short rush distance map, and this is something where he has actually had an interesting attribute. He has a higher win rate on a lot of the supposedly bad for Zerg maps, in ZVT specifically, than any other player. He often has a higher win rate than on the supposedly Zerg-friendly maps. So he's got this weird thing. It goes all the way back to 2018 and earlier. Maps like Submarine, Babylon, whatever the short map is that most Zergs fear, he would say, yeah, I don't really like playing it. And you'd look at his stats and you'd say, you have an 89% win rate on that map. Like, what do you, how do you do so well? And he's like, yeah, it's really tough, but there's something about embracing the challenge of having very little room. And he's so good at like jumping on the Terran pushes when they move out, not really letting them get established. And we saw that beautiful Ling drop pick apart Oliveira on this map before. That was so nice.
Exactly. Certainly the map that comes to mind for this discussion is Beckett's, a time where we thought Terran was going to be heavily favored. And actually, by the end of its life cycle, overall, Zerg had a slightly better win rate. And I'm sure that was helped by Serral leading the way, as he does for many a Zerg out there. He is simply the best. And Maru ditto on the Terran side. Even though Oliveira was able to push Serral to the limits, I have no doubt that Maru looked at that and said, Oliveira, you got something there, man. Yeah, okay, I can definitely do that. And maybe even a little bit better because I am Maru. Not going to have to actually go for a building cancel there.
Triggered discipline on that. He's like, no, I know this can tank 2 more shots, so I'm going to wait for you to shoot the one. No, you're not going to shoot it. You're just going to leave. Okay, doesn't even need to waste the 17 minerals. Straight back to mining. The 2 Lings across the map. Serral, 2 games in a row playing 15-15. This is an opening Serral does not like playing versus Clem very much. We don't see him use it that much. People say, oh, it must not be good. But he has famously used this over and over again versus Maru. In a lot of their finals, you go back to Masters Coliseum, he mixed it in Katowice as well. He will mix in these 15-15 openings, especially on small maps, because they're very safe against the Reaper. He doesn't need to build as many Zerglings. He gets to do that little Link counter attack to mess him up. And it just gives him the ability to be incredibly safe against proxy barracks because that spawning pool is so much faster.
These two almost gathering up $3 million between them in the prize pools, and I'm sure we'll get there with the upcoming Esports World Cup, which these two will be going to, and could very well have back-to-back-to-back finals in as well. Another Roach one coming down for Serral on Ghost River, as Maru once again added 3 CC. Obviously a slightly different start for him. They do have Hellions on the way and a Starport as well, so 3 CC into 1-1-1.
There was a time when getting to $1 million in prize money was something most people could only dream of. I'm now thinking it is actually possible within the next year or so if Serral keeps doing well, and Maru. These are the two that could hit $2 million within the next year. So it's an insane amount of prize money they've racked up in their careers. Maru's Hellion Reaper now going to poke in. Nice safe creep tumor spread on the left. Doesn't risk spreading to the south until he knows it's secure. Serral does not like wasting queen energy. He likes to have the energy save up so the queens have transfuses in case there is something like a held that timing hitting a little later.
Yeah, we did see some aggression from the Terrans, not just the 8 racks, but a couple of early ones as well. The Hellions are going to get on into the natural. That queen can't do very much about it. Roach's pop, however, very well timed, trying to block things out as well. 3 more Hellions looking at 1-shot here. The drones have to be careful. It does look like this is going to be the tail end. Can they get 1 more shot? Yes, actually 2 more shots. Nice. That is 7 drones lost for the 4 Hellions.
Very nice opening there. Damage for Maru. Serral not using an Evo Chamber and a Queen to wall off there. Skipping Ling speed, of course. So there's that window. When you don't have Roaches out yet, there's no Ling speed. Nothing to stop the Hellions. At the end of the day, though, Maru cedes a fair bit of map control. This gives Serral a lot more room to spread creep. His third base is up. He can drone very well. And the Banshees, got to be careful about over-committing, because of course there's the fear for Maru that a Roach attack could just blitz across this very small rush distance.
That's very true, and when it does come to these smaller maps, we can talk a lot about how that might fare Terran as the more aggressive race a lot of the time, but actually what it boils down to is whoever does want to be aggressive, particularly in the mid-game, then they're going to have that. They're going to also be able to build that momentum, but when momentum does fail, it very quickly goes the other way, right? So Roaches move across, they don't work, suddenly, boom, Maru's on your side of the map instantly. So that's what you got to be really careful about for both parties. That Banshee is going to help cover that to an extent, as the Roaches obviously do not shoot up. They can also cover run-bys later on as well. But right now they are hoping to get a quick cancel on that 4th. Already over halfway done. Queens are over here as well. Doesn't look like they'll get a cancel. It's way too healthy.
I remember an age when going Roaches meant it was really hard to secure a quick 3rd and 4th base off this sort of opening, but Serral's 4th is insanely early. He's rock solid against the Banshees, and he's already got an infestation pit.
Yeah, he is macroing up pretty hard here. Maru is doing his thing back at home, obviously. So he wanted to try and get either that 4th hatch cancel if it was still a little light on the health, maybe some creep tumors that were over there unprotected, or of course queens that did not quite have the Overseer. Oftentimes that Overseer can be made in the main, for instance. Slow getting over. Didn't find anything. The Overseer was made with a kind of a well-placed Overlord. The Roaches even backing away, not going to let any silly kills happen, immediately replanting the creep tumors as well. Both players really setting up here for the macro game.
Often, Roach Ravager is played off a lower worker count, but Serral is so confident going to 79 workers and a quick hive. I would not be surprised to see a Hydra Den, I was about to say, but actually Link Speed does start up, so it does look to me like Serral wants to go back towards that more standard like Link Bane transition. But for a second there, I was thinking, hey, you're going +1 range. This might be straight to Lurker Viper, an old school style. We don't see that much. It's more of a timing attack oriented style. But no, Serral's going to go Infestors for splash damage. And he's going to go up into Zerglings mixing in, as those are a much more gas-light unit, saving the gas for the spellcasters. We might see 2 Infestor, 2 Viper very early. That's so good paired with Roach Ravager.
I am looking at Maru's production tab very intently. Does he have a 4th CC? Does he have the 3 racks? So far, no 4th. He's still working on combat shields, but an 8 racks on one of these short maps, could make some sense. Banshee's finally finding some success. They might lose 1, but ideally you still save 1, again, to guard against those run-bys. Scout as well into the main base, and the Banshee does have an exit. Maybe that 4th base is there. Is there a queen as well?
Could always hide over the Ghost River. Sporkrel is there, and the Banshee does grab a few extra drones. But losing the Banshees is a problem, because this means you don't have that defensive power. Normally, the Zerg doesn't have a lot of anti-air. Having a few Banshees at home is so useful, just mixed into your army or defending in general. That Banshee's going to hide directly over the Ghost River. The actual Ghost River, the map is named after. The spirits of many lost Zerg and Terran souls do flow there. Marines in the south side going to find a 5th base that just started, and that's the kill, no cancel. Lovely pick off for Maru.
Yeah, 300 plus the drone is pretty nice, but Serral has a rock-solid base elsewhere. That 4th base not going to get broken. He's got a hive, Ultra's Cavern on the way. Maru's 4th base did get slapped down, but it's really not that fast. I mean, we can see as fast as 7 minutes, certainly. 6.5 even, and that wasn't quite it. So actually, it's going to feel similar last game, despite the Reaper opener not existing. Overlord gets sniped on that right side, but Serral is posturing to get anything that he can, breaking down the rocks. If it tanks too far forward, Corrosive Piles will get it. And of course, if he does see an opening when he does max out, which is not yet, then he will take it as he did last game.
Have we seen no Banelings so far, right? This looks a lot like what he did on Golden Aura against Oliveira. It didn't work out there, but I mean, the amount of gas you save for spellcasters, for ultras, eventually you want to add Banelings, always, because they're such a supply-efficient way to bust through planetaries. But right now, this just seems so optimized. 6 Ultras going to be out with Kindness Plating just after 9 minutes. They'll have 1-2 upgrades, breaking the rocks in the north as well. Serral's up at 203 supply. He did a couple of Spore Crawler tricks there, building the spores and canceling them. The Ghosts Academy started, a 6th command center, or 5th one on the way for Maru as well. But Maru's trailing in that supply.
On location. Oh, okay, no, that's the 4th trying to get on location. Ling is scouting that and blocking it currently. Maru's trying to get some type of control over the map as that creep spread starting to get real scary through the middle. Little lacking on the south, but that might give a possibility for the drop to do some damage unseen. It's still not the greatest attack point. If Maru has to go diagonal across the map to actually get somewhere there's not creep, that's going to take a very long time.
If this goes to late game, what does Serral do? There's no middle bases. You cannot take resources from the opponent's side of the map on Ghost River. It'd be such a smart time to play late game, but this double drop getting a little bit risky here. Maru, big attack from Serral in the north, catching Maru a little out of position. Command center is exposed, picking off the CC and then pulling back would be a good move. Chasing in, is this really something he can get away with? The Fungals only landing on a few Marines, lots of tanks down there. Crazy attack angle for Serral.
This is like a dark move, man. He forced his way through a choke, through the Sim City, and now is on top of the army. Maru trying his best to stop the Ultra Horde with just Marines is not a good feeling. Marines with only 1-1 versus Kiting Plating and +2 on the Ultras. Maru supply in the dumpster. He is getting some damage done, however, on the other side of the map, but is it really the equivalent? Maru lost so much army here.
Those Ultras with +2 carapace, while Maru only had +1 attack, his Marines were just doing no damage at all. The Ghosts are coming out too little too late here for Maru. Serral ahead of the curve, skips Banelings, rushes to a mass Ultralist timing, and look at how excellent that was. The Fungals adding in there, the Ultra Link getting on top. Maru unable to weather the storm.
Serral with utter domination so far. Maru looking a little lost. First game goes the way that it goes. Okay, all right, first game, get a little warm-up, no problem. Second game goes in a very similar fashion, slightly different build orders and compositions. However, at the end of the day, Serral once again maxes out, sees an opportunity to push on through, and he does. Those upgrades, absolute bummer for Maru. He had no Marauders, which are also a little more helpful against those Ultras. And you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if Maru was just shocked that he actually committed.
That was a crazy attack angle. I mean, he broke the rocks in Sensor Tower vision, funneled the Ultras and Roaches and Ravages through a choke point, but it's the confidence to understand where you are in the game. Don't just look at the choke point and go, oh, it's bad to go here. Say, hey, these Ultras are basically immune to Marine damage. There's a lot of the tanks are on the south. They're nowhere near. You got 6 tanks firing right now from behind these depots and on the high ground. It's a different story. But instead there's what? 2 tanks at the start. Now a 3rd tank shooting. A lot of the Marines getting caught. And they're just not doing anything against those Ultra lists. You need Marauders, you need Ghosts, you need Libs. Maru was setting up for the long game, but it didn't feel like he was rushing to the long game, right?
Yeah.
He was just going, oh, okay, we're playing a slow game. Let's do it. Okay, I'll start going in that direction. But his 2-2 was so late. Not having 2-2 at 10 minutes, not having the Ghost out yet. The Libs backing it up, so many tanks in the south. And Serral takes advantage with an Ultraless timing attack.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. This is, it feels like Maru is just behind. You know, and sometimes between really 2 good players, it looks like it's totally fine and normal between both of them pacing-wise. And then you realize that far better player is just much faster, actually, literally in getting their economy set up, getting their foundation set up, and getting the opportunity to purely look at their army and decide how do I use it, as opposed to, you know, thinking of everything else you still need to do macro-wise. Serral just seems better right now. What can Maru do to offset him?
He's going to have to do something magical because this man down here, he has lost to his opponent before, but when he loses to people in big tournaments, he studies them down to a T. He prepares his strategies in immaculate detail, and he is looking to try and get another masterclass here. Down here in the bottom right side of Golden Aura, representing Basilisk, hailed as the greatest player of all time, looking to add to his legacy. It is Serral! The lack of reaction on his face when he gets those wins just shows it is never over until it's over. Incredible discipline.
In the top left, certainly in need of cheers here. He is down 0-2. It is Vitality's Maru.
Going to be going for a low ground barracks expand for Maru. A single barracks on the natural. This is vulnerable to some all-in attacks, but it gives you a really nice, easy kind of information denial. You can lift the barracks to kill the Overlord on the pillar outside your base, which is such a big problem on this map. And it does allow you to simply hide what you're doing. Marine first, indeed, he's going to go for that Overlord snipe. Unfortunately, somehow Serral is always 3 steps ahead. He's just looking for proxy barracks. His Overlord are not heading into that dangerous position.
Yeah, and by the time that they do, it might be a little too dangerous for that Marine to still be out there. So it is a 1-Rax expand, slightly less economical because SV has to transfer, I suppose. But yeah, it is a 1-Rax expand, and then I'm very much so looking forward to what follows. Is it another 3CC? Is it going to be something a little bit trickier? Is it going to be 3CC into 2-1-1? Could get a little more action on the map before Serral's really ready to go. Something like that. But the onus is on Maru. He is down 0-2. He has been clobbered in the first 2 games, and we know that's just not the potential that Maru can actually achieve, but there is certainly an effect from Serral now, much as the Koreans used to have back in the day, where you look at him and say, even though I think I'm a very good player, I'm not sure I could beat that guy.
And already such a good start here for Serral. He sees the Marines hunting, but they don't see him. The Overlord has longer sight range, and it's hiding on a pillar there, hiding itself from their view. He now moves it up and to the right, trying to get into a position to scout in the future. Zergling speed's on the way, Falling's moving across the map. Serral's changed up his opening. A more classic hatchery gas pool opening. And this is going to give him a really smooth, just build up into the 3rd base. A very nice way to open into Ling Bane rather than the Roach openings that he's favored so far.
Good timing there. Maru denying the scouts is worth the delay of the transfer. He does not want him to see that he is actually just 2 base 1-on-1 right now. And he didn't want to have that blocked. The Marines are doing other things. It doesn't get blocked, but those Marines actually did not kill that Ling. There we go. Cyclones are going to be the first thing out here from that factory.
I love that the Ling also distracts the Marines, so the Overlord snuck up next to the main now for the sacrifice. The little details. I always feel like, you know, it's so easy to look at Serral games and miss all of the tiny little things that he's done in the early game. But that is often, you know, when you see him just kind of run up and roll over an army, it's these little things stacking up over many minutes building into an insurmountable advantage. And it's really the thing that Maru is going to have to lean into is extreme aggression, extreme greed. He needs to find an edge. It looks like aggression seems to be what he's going for. It's a Cyclone, Hellion Pressure, a Liberator, and extra barracks before third command center.
Yeah, guys, this is abnormal. 3CC, that's usually the way you go after the 1-1-1, but the barracks is being added on. The Overlord, as you pointed out, kind of snuck around, however. It's going to get a very good scout into the main base. It's going to see that there is no third CC, and you really wouldn't be able to fit that anywhere else except the main base or on location, which would be quite brazen. Cyclone's trying to do something here, and they will actually have some success. Serral very limited on the Lings. Oh, no, there they are. So this is going to be very careful. Cyclone's on their own, a little vulnerable to those Lings. That's why those Hellions have to be there to help it out. Where did the Overlord stop? Well, it didn't. It's still in the main base.
It sees everything. This was all about denying information for Maru, but he hasn't been able to. He's even rallied his Marines to the front. The Overlord is seeing everything. Maru, he's doing a very committed two-base aggressive play, but it's being completely scouted. There's clearly no third command center, and right now, Serral has all the information he needs. He's going to go for a Link counterattack. He's continuing to drone up and add queens. Lair is on the way. Oh, he catches an alien. No, good pullback by Maru. Those slick reactions for the Korean Terran.
Yeah, we do have Maru adding on a third CC now. He knows that he's been scouted. He knows that these tricks, as far as the build order is going, is not really working out here, so he's going to have to hope that something on the actual field does something to offset Serral. And Serral will probably be very keen as well to get that follow-up scout. That was really so good with, particularly versus Protoss, but definitely versus Terran and Zerg as well. Baneliness is going to be the choice here, not a roach game from Serral.
Ooh, Liberator going for the front on siege up. The I hope you're not looking maneuver. The Spore Crawler is so quick, and he takes massive damage. All he does is a tiny bit of denied binding time. Things aren't starting well for Maru in Game 3. Denying a little bit of creep is not what he was hoping for. Now, to be fair, Serral's respecting his play and not droning crazy hard, right? A 10-worker advantage is respectable. It's kind of what you'd expect in this matchup. But if you lose this army to like a Lynx around, that's when suddenly it's massive advantage for Serral. Maru has to preserve these units and just keep poking around and keeping some form of pressure up.
Yeah, not to mention something that can actually protect his third as he moves on to other forms of aggression, which are going to be those Marines and the Medivac. Ling's going to scout that. Now, again, I think Serral still might be under the impression that it could be a two-base attack. Eventually, he will figure things out, but it was very good to point out that Serral is respecting it. Now he gets the now he gets the scout. Let's just say he does. Those barracks are a little too late, and so this is a good information for Serral. He can actually focus up on what he needs to do, while Maru is the one that kind of had to change things around a little bit, but he did change it kind of back on course, back to an almost typical looking TVZ. Serral does not have Banelings currently, just the Queens, a lot of transfuse, decent amount of Lings, I believe, as well. Maru not expecting to gather too much there, does go for the creep spread.
Queens pushing back that pressure for now. Of course, Maru knows there's a lot of Ling Bane behind it. That's why he's just being very careful.
Now, those 8 Banelings were snuck off to the side somewhere, ready to go. If they were needed, they were not needed. The Queens did everything by themselves, and they are already respreading all the creep that Maru was trying to stop. He also tried stopping in the last 2 games. That didn't quite work out there, and the Overseer is finally going to get taken out. Maru now on the swing here. He's gone for 1-1, 3 CC. He's got a lot of extra barracks coming up, so remember that he had an odd number of barracks. Usually it's 1, 3, 5, 8. I don't even know what this was. 1, 2, whatever.
I think he's going to 6 racks. Oh, it is 8 racks.
It is 8 racks.
It is 8 racks now. Good call there, Zombie Grub. I was just as confused as you were, as it is a bit of an odd build Maru's doing because he keeps getting scouted. So he's trying to, every time he gets scouted, he's trying to pivot his build a little bit to surprise Serral, and Serral just comes in and scouts it again. This is not a good feeling. Maru was looking for surprise tactics, and he hasn't been able to find a way to make them work. But the Liberator did hunt down the Overseer in the back. He's got a ton of Marine tank on the way. The Lings are going to start to break down these rocks. Serral is up 17 workers. He's massing Ling Bane off 76 drones. He does already have an army supply advantage, but his creep has been kept quite small this game, so we've really got to pay tribute to just how well Maru's done for that. If he can set up his tanks in a really good position with his 8 racks, I mean, he's building 10 Marines at a time. He's got +2 weapons on the way. Reactors are still kicking in. Maru could absolutely do this with a really nice Marine tank timing, but he's got to get rid of that. Oh, no!
No, there's no lift there. The tank was on it anyway. Now that tank is also going to be targeted. Banelings rolling in as well. The SCVs in some extreme danger. Actually, that tank got at least 1 shot, but there's still so many Banelings left over. The SCV pool only somewhat successful. Maru also forced to entirely pull back, and now obviously revealing that he was indeed going to be doing an 8 rack. Serral just gave him a huge amount of time to breathe, and now Serral is up 60 supply.
Oh, there was no depot on the left. Maru was so focused on being the aggressor. He had no contingency. He didn't have any spotters out to see those lings and give himself warning and extra time to react. More lings coming in for the backstep. Serral is relentless today. Serral woke up and chose violence. This is a disgusting version of Serral we are witnessing in this tournament. He is barely dropping maps. Yes, the semifinals was hard. It was a tough one. But it seems like now he is just overwhelming Maru, desperate with one big push. But he is deep on creep. His army's isolated. And he knows those bugs are going to be coming. He can feel the tremors in the ground. The horde of Queen Link Bait is coming in.
Here we go. That is a lot of Zerg and not a lot of Terran. Maru tries his best with what he has, but it simply is not enough. And there you have it. Serral goes up 3-0 in absolutely perfect fashion from start to finish. In every single game, it all goes to Serral.
One of the great players of all time, Rogue, used to be called the Hype Killer, but I feel like recently Serral is trying to steal that title for himself. The man that absolutely just rips his opponents apart. This is the moment where Maru has to dig deep, knuckle down, and we need to see him play an extremely tight set of games. Winning 4 games in a row against Serral to make the comeback is incredibly hard, but at this point, he's going to have to play a bit risky, take chances, and just find a way to get some surprise off, because so far Serral's openings are just so controlled. He's scouting, he's seeing everything, the finesse with the Overlord in the early game to settle this up, and that was a picture-perfect Zerg versus Terran.
It was. A lot of these games are. If you can get these replays, which we'll be able to, and actually copy this from start to finish, congratulations, you're one of the best Zergs in the world. That is easier said than done, especially when Maru can usually be the one to really throw you off. Usually he's got something going on. The Hellions do more damage than you expect. Double drop hits faster than you expect. He is 8-Roxing, and he thought he was 4CCing. But nothing is surprising, Serral. Not in the build order, not in the army placement, not in the army use. I'm not trying to be a Serral fangirl here, but he is really proving why he deserves the title of greatest of all time.
You're not meant to be up 3-0 versus Maru like this. I mean, look at how good Maru's looked in this tournament so far. I mean, yeah, Dark took him out, but most of those games, Maru was like in charge, looking large. He took out Hero in a TVP. He smashed through the earlier stages. This is an immense performance.
And we head into what could very well be the last map. If you're cheering for this guy, you're in a very good place. We're in Crimson Court for Game 4. In the top right, up 3-0 for Basilisk. He is Serral.
And in a moment where he has to dig deeper than he's ever dug before, a moment where we know he's not going to give up easily. He's going to have all of his energy, focus, will, and determination to make this reversible possible. In the bottom left side of the map, representing Vitality, it's Maru! He's made comebacks from pretty damn hard positions before, but by golly, this is an uphill battle.
Some would say getting now a reverse sweep would be impossible. It is very, very rare over any best of 7 that you might see, even including some of the online ones. You just don't really see a lot of comebacks from the 3-0. But they have happened, and they've happened in very prestigious tournaments as well. Some famous ones in GSL, I'm sure you all do know. Perhaps most famous Innovation versus Sulky. And we also had Squirtle MVP, which actually still ended in MVP's favor, but it is possible, and Maru has witnessed many of them, if not actually done a few of his reverse sweeps of his own. So let's hope that he can actually get the ball rolling here, get into his groove, and start to contest in this series. Serral, no doubt, riding high after a near-perfect 3-0.
You can see Serral already mining out the gold minerals in that first-person view on the left side of your screen. He's gone back to the 15-15 opening, and much like Dark, who loves to open up with that gasless 3 hatchery, it looks like Serral is opting for the same style. And it served him pretty well, these roach openings. On this map, you can wall off the front with a roach horn, an evolution chamber, 1 queen in the wall. Hellions can't get in there. So it's actually really tough to apply the standard types of pressure if you mine out and take that linear third base.
What other options are there for Maru? Big.
Perfect late game. I want to see a 6-minute 4th command center.
Yeah.
I just don't want to see Maru lean into the aggression. Already gets a drone. That's a good start. That's a very good start. Getting himself a drone. It starts with little edges like that, and you've got to take it 1 game at a time. The task seems impossible, and it seems like the mountain's just so frigging, how are you going to get to the top? Like, what do? You just have to focus on one step. Put one foot in front of the other. And right now, that means focus on what he's good at, which is late game. He is so good at late game. I still think if Maru can get to the late game in a very good spot, it's going to be difficult for Serral to match him there. I think Serral dominates players in the late mid game. He has a very good late game, but I think Maru's, when he's on point, he's the best in the world. So embrace it, go to it. Look at that fast third command center. You know, go up into this, take a fast fourth as well, and just turtle it out.
It would be nice to see that actually tested. It is a 3cc into barracks here, so that's really the greediest thing that a Terran can do. Not only do you have 3cc, but you have very few tech units, and then no other units otherwise until those Marine counts actually start to grow. But Serral has not been throwing out attacks at any point, and there doesn't really seem to be a reason to, although when you are up 3-0, you could try. But Maru is thinking, you know what, he's not going to attack me. I can get away with this, and I can get the ball rolling a little more on this bio production and actually get that going as opposed to the usual little steps with the Cyclones, the Hellions, and all that, or Banshees, for instance, another game. This is very, very clean from Maru, and Serral is going to rely on his Roach game once again on Crimson Courts. He just has to win one more, and he will be in a championship number 10, I believe. So he's on 9 currently. That could be the story here.
Yeah, he's been dominating for years now and winning so many different events, racking up those trophies. Anytime you see Serral live streaming or doing an interview from his home, it's always nice seeing that trophy case in the background.
Yeah.
And it seems like they seem to grow, you know, they're like mushrooms. Those trophies just keep spawning other trophies. Maru's got a fair few of his own, to be fair. I mean, there's so many GSL trophies that Maru's got in that case.
Yes, G8L, but Serral with 9 ESL international tournaments. He's looking pretty good. One away from another. Stim is on the way for Maru. Factory finally coming down as well. Fairly quick engineering bays too, so he will have the upgrade lead as Serral has to get to add on his evolution chambers. Just going up into that lair. Overlord is going to die, and actually a little supply block, but Serral's already on top of it.
I like this little poke out. Just clears an Overlord. Maru knows with the 3 command center ability, he's not going to be doing much more than that. He's got his double upgrades on the way. Factory now coming down. We will see a starport and a reactor, no doubt, so we get some medevacs. And overall, economy-wise, well, yeah, sure, Serral's up 14 workers. He did a very greedy build, gasless 3 hatchery. But having 3 orbitals dropping mules this early, your third base starting to get saturated, Maru can definitely match it. He's already got a huge lead on the upgrades.
Yes, yeah, that's going to be quite scary. And we are going to see, finally, evolution chambers added on for Serral. Maru's starport finally on the way. He has been a little active on the map without those medevacs, which in some cases can be dangerous, but against what Serral is doing, I don't think it really is. And he's even being more on the map as well. Feeling the confidence of being able to run away from just slow roaches does make some sense. I don't know, a lot of feelings on the field here. So Maru is trying to be as in your face as possible, even before medevacs, which really can be very, very dangerous for Terran. In this case, perfectly on point. Grabs that 4th base cancel, easy peasy. We are on another map where the Zerg kind of expands towards the Terran, can make it a little awkward, but again, Serral so aware of that in the first game, will certainly be here in this one.
I love Maru's macro this game. This is exactly what I wanted to see. Armory's going down at the exact right time so we can start 2-2 instantly. He's going Tech Lab so we can start building tanks, perfect against roaches. And I wouldn't mind an early second factory, but like I said, I want a fast 4th command center as well. If he drops that in the next 30 seconds, I'd be heavily pleased. You know Serral's making a lot of Roach Ravager. Those units are good, but they don't scale that well into the late game. So if Maru can just beeline directly to mass biotech, add the ghosts out as well, that'll be great.
Yeah, he does have a decent amount of money, but he is also about to start 2-2, so not sure about that 4CC quite yet. Yes, yeah, 6.5. Nicely done. All right, I think we both were on that as well. It just felt like when he was getting into any of these macro games, he was already one step behind, but this is really what you want to have going alongside that 2-2, which he once again has resources for. Serral, changing things up. Okay, I think we were kind of maybe expecting him to land in the macro game, but he is adding a Nidus Worm, guys. No infestation pit, just those 1-1 roaches and a Nidus Worm as well. We've seen that win out a couple of games this tournament, and Serral is looking to take game number 4 with this kind of cheesy build.
1-1 a Roach all in. He's got Roach speed. The 1-1 upgrade's done in 30 seconds. Oversteers on both sides of the map, ready to start spotting for Nidus Worms. Maru's pushing right now. It's a crazy move. Maru should not be on the map. He's playing a fast 4th command center into Sing Factory. Attacking right now is incredibly dangerous. He sees the low drone count and he realizes he's got to get home and turtle up. Nidus Worm going over the main base right now. It's just barely in the edge of his vision. Not sure if Maru notices it as he's very busy in the middle of the map.
Obviously, he's been playing a lot of his own games during this tournament. He might not have been aware, but yes, the tank pops out and it takes care of it. That will not be the opening that Serral was looking for. However, many of the army units still on the front lines, looking to dominate the 3rd base. Maru retreating with the SCVs, very scared of this push push and trying to give himself the best possible situation.
Respectful of this push. Beautiful play with the SCV pull, but only one tank and it gets biled immediately. I don't think Maru should be fighting out here. He should be pulling back and waiting for the other tanks. He needs to get back and pull everything together, but Serral dives on top, sees his moment, and he seizes it.
Serral says, I did it once, but I'm going to do it even better the second time. Serral absolutely dominating this best of 7. Just mere moments before the 4th game is his. Maru's not going to give up without one last fight, but another tank does get taken down. The one on the high ground might be a little trickier to take care of, but Serral with an 100 supply lead might just be able to go over there, kill the tank, and overwhelm Maru. There you have it. Serral with a perfect best of 7 versus Maru cements himself in history as the greatest of all time.
Absolutely stunning.